is this where I'm at now? Making videos on free-to-play mobile games? No, you know what? I have only myself to blame. Special Delivery is technically the only mainline FNAF game that I'd be missing if I didn't cover it, which is supremely annoying because of how it's designed.
Our special delivery will make you jump with excitement.
Roll credits. So, admittedly, this is kind of a weird thing to complain about, but given all the permissions this game needs in order to function in the first place, why wouldn't it just ask for all the permissions from the start? I feel like the game's constantly having to stop because it wants something, like a kid to their parent at a supermarket walking through the candy aisle, and the parent knows damn well they shouldn't be caving in and giving the kid all they're asking for, but they just can't say no. They love their baby too much, and now I'm doxxed.
We're thrilled that you chose our service. We may now look forward to the excitement.
Well, now that's just an unfulfillment of our agreement. Your service was only online for 5 years. And technically even that's not true, because you stopped updating the game for 3 years, so the service only really lasted 2. Also, can I just circle back to what I said earlier? I don't think you caught that. That is my house! That is the neighborhood where I live! Sure, there are no explicit identifiers, but anyone with Google Maps could eventually find a visual match given enough time. I can't help but feel like something was supposed to show up there, given the sound effect and the fact that the text moved out of the way. I think I ran into a bug where when the game was teaching me about buffs, none were showing up in my inventory, and I wasn't sure if that was normal, but obviously it wanted me to equip one, which I didn't have, so I was effectively soft-locked until I exited and went back into the app.
I hope you enjoy my visit. I'm planning on making it extra special for you.
It's weird that Freddy was finally given a voice, especially considering that despite all the characters that were given voices in Ultimate Custom Night, Freddy was one of the many that wasn't. And I don't know what's stranger, that or the fact that there were still so many other characters that continued to not have a voice, like Bonnie and Chica. Microtransactions. And okay, we gotta talk about this, because like most mobile games, and as you can see, there was in-game currency that wasn't the most accessible to players, often requiring paying actual real-world money in order to make it easier to obtain certain in-game items. It's not that the fast coins were hard to get, it's that they took an incredibly long time to accrue. The photo booth, for example, was something you had to purchase with fast coins, which cost the equivalent of $40 for an optional mode that gets you nothing. In fact, you can only use the animatronics and skins you own. We'll get into it later, but that's twice the price of the Dark Circus Encore DLC, which, as far as I could tell, you had to pay for. And yeah, I know that's how most mobile games of this nature operate, incentivizing the player to continue the gameplay loop over and over for the sake of unlocking content, but just because everybody does it, that doesn't make it not predatory. I'll talk more about the emails later, but it's hilarious to me that some of them were written out to sound glitched, the way they would if they were spoken, because, like, why would that happen? It's text. I mean, yeah, it can get corrupted, but usually that would take the form of random garbled Unicode, not repeating the same letter over and over again, sometimes replacing the rest of the actual word. So you might notice the UI at the bottom, which contained all the important things I'd need to know when playing, such as where my shock button was, my flashlight button, my buffs, and my health bar. As it turns out, the health bar and the shield buff weren't originally gameplay mechanics. They were added later on to make encounters more meaningful and seemed to be pretty unpopular when they were added. And as someone who had just started playing the game, yeah, I definitely didn't want my experience to be padded. And while on the subject of gameplay, man, I've really come far from enforcing that rule. Considering that this was a 360-degree game, it was very YouTuber unfriendly for a series that got its fame thanks to YouTubers. It was designed for people to play while standing up so they could fully turn around, usually in the comfort of their own home, lest they look like a complete ass, making this game kind of a nightmare to capture video for unless you had a steady and long enough cable that connected your phone to your computer. I never properly understood how the Remnant minigame with Rickfist Fashik was supposed to work. All the game ever told me was to not collect too much shadow because otherwise I'd get a special delivery I may not like, but I kept going and going and going, collecting as much Remnant as I could, avoiding shadows, until I eventually collected too many shadows by accident and lost. I don't know if that's another bug, if something was supposed to happen after some time, or I had to collect a specific amount of Remnant, or I had to fight Rickfist Fashik. I don't know, the game never told me. And on the subject of bugs, while I can't attest to this because it never happened to me, I've seen so many reports of people experiencing the game crashing at any given moment. Keep in mind, I really only played this game for an hour on the latest version of the game before they announced the shutdown, but I swear, anywhere I sought information about this game had a number of people complaining about how often this game crashed on them. And the reason I only played this game for about an hour before I quit was because I'd already fought and beaten like 6 bear endos before encountering Freddy for the first time, lost to Rickfist Fashik, and then fought another bear endo and knew that if that was the gameplay loop, I was done. And apparently, the way the animatronics would show up changed over time. Originally, it was streak dependent. The more animatronics you defeated in a row, the rarer the animatronics that you'd encounter would be, but if you lost at any point, you had to start that streak all over again, which... oof. Eventually, the encounter rate became level-based, which sounds cool at first since you were no longer required to keep up a streak, but the thing is, leveling up took a long-ass time, even from the offset. That's one way to keep your player base engaged, I guess, but when early level animatronics take forever to level up for, and you realize that later animatronics don't start showing up until level 50 or whatever, I can't blame anyone that didn't want to go through with that. I certainly didn't. There was another way to try and fight newer animatronics through the use of lures. Lures were something else you could buy with fast coins or actual money, which already sucked on its own, but there were certain animatronics or skins that were part of occasional events that would take place, that could only be encountered through the use of a lure. And the thing is, you were never guaranteed said animatronic or skin, you still had to defeat them. And let's talk about skins, because... oh boy. So, the game ended its run with a grand total of 20 unique base animatronics, which... you know, not great, considering that just 2 games ago we had 50 unique animatronics, almost each with their own gameplay mechanic. And those are just the ones you could select on the character roster, not including the 9 non-selectable ones, and that's still not counting Bear Endo, Candy Cadet, the Juice Fountain Clowns. My point is, they had quite a roster of characters to choose from to include in the game and keep it alive for a while. And most of that time was spent releasing 39 skins across those 20 characters. Not 39 skins each, but total. That's not even double your character count, meaning that not all characters got the same number of skins as everyone else. But it's even worse than that. Some characters didn't get skins, period. What's so ridiculous about that is that this was exactly the kind of game that you would want to pull out all the stops for. Get some obscure shit in there. FNaF World had more characters than you, dude. So, in keeping with the tradition of making me look up the weirdest of things, I was curious if bears were even native to Ireland, because otherwise the Shamrock Freddy skin makes no sense. It turns out that they were before going extinct in the first millennium BC. Funnily enough, the kind of bear that went extinct was a subspecies of brown bear. Even funnier is that a month before this game released, a zoologist reintroduced brown bears into a wildlife preserve in Ireland, so me, I guess the skin does make sense, but you still made me look up if bears existed in Ireland. Whoa, hold on, nuh-uh, you already did that one. Nah, see, it's different cause this one's melted. This is a skin of a skin. Skinception, if you will. Radioactive Foxy. And you guys assembled and shipped this one out? Yeah, I'm sure this one was a gas at parties. Radon specifically. Here's your birthday present, Billy. We got you your own Foxy the Pirate to play with. Now you can sail the 7 seas and get cancer. I get that the idea is that Jetpack Balloon Boy is supposed to be floating, you know, because of the jetpack, but because his feet are completely flat, it just makes him look like his model is displaced, especially when he lands at the end of his animation loop. Circus Baby was simply called Baby in this game, which is kind of weird, not only because she has a full name, but because unlike Freddy, they chose to not display it. Okay, no! Springtrap makes no sense for them to deploy, not only because, well, there's only ever supposed to be one Springtrap, but because why in the mother of Michael Afton would they ever claim a decrepit child murderer stuck in a mechanical bunny costume as an official product? What? Oh, dude, Katrina Toy Chica is dope as hell! And Mr. Cupcake is a sugar skull? Oh, that's so clever! In fact, 2 other skins, the ones that came out as part of the Ancient Equinox event, referenced Aztec culture. The curse is meant to represent an Aztec jaguar warrior, complete with an Aztec Mexica calendar as a shield, and Serpent Mangle referenced the Aztec deity Quetzalcoatl, the feathered serpent, god of the winds, of the sun, of vitality, one of the most important gods in Mesoamerican culture. They're racist or whatever. Does anybody else think it's weird that Freddy Frostbear was his own character and not a skin? Like, I get that he had a unique gameplay mechanic where he frosted your screen temporarily, but otherwise wasn't he just regular Freddy? As such, Toy Freddy, you know, not the original one, had more skins than the original Fazbear. 8-Bit Baby was especially weird because she didn't have her own skin, so why wasn't she a skin? Also, why was she the only 8-bit character? Most of the characters from the original Click Team era have their own 8-bit iterations too. So, strangely enough, Ballora didn't have a voice in this game for some reason, despite the fact that she's a character that has had a voice and even spoken dialogue ever since her debut in Sister Location. Now, as the story goes, developer Illumix had planned to host a recording session with Ballora's voice actor, Michelle Amos, but then just didn't, and have never provided a statement as to why that was. Jacko Chica and Jacko Bonnie were two of the animatronics that were considered unique, but didn't have skins to call their own. And I have to wonder, if that's the case, why weren't they just relegated to being skins of their respective original counterparts? The game also included Plush Trap, but not any of the other Nightmare animatronics for some reason. Which is especially weird, considering that the Halloween animatronics are themselves variations of the Nightmare animatronics. Golden Freddy apparently sucked to fight because there were so many variables to consider. It would happen in 3 phases, and he could adopt the behaviors of either Freddy, Springtrap, Toy Freddy, Mangle, or Ballora, and you had to find out quickly which behavior you were fighting. That could have made the fight pretty simple, or way more difficult than it needed to be. Not to mention, isn't Golden Freddy's whole thing that he's completely limp because he's not mounted on an endoskeleton? How is he standing? Like, it's not just me, right? Golden Freddy looks weird, right? Funtime Freddy was the last animatronic to be added to the roster. Hell, his inclusion marked the end of the updates this game received until the final delivery event, and what a weird animatronic to end it with, not only because it's an animatronic from Sister Location, but because it's not like it was the last Funtime animatronic left. Not to mention, there are a bunch of other models that went completely unexplored, such as the Rockstar animatronics. And on the subject of other animatronic models they could have included, Funtime Freddy was released just a week after Security Breach released, and the game would go on to survive 3 more years, meaning they had plenty of time to add the Glamrock animatronics. In fact, I found multiple accounts from fans stating that Kieran Sinha, the CEO of Illumix, explicitly stated that the 4 Glamrock animatronics would be added to the game. I debated on whether or not to include this as a sin, considering that I haven't been able to confirm whether or not this actually happened myself, because it most likely came from an interview Dawko did back in 2021 over on his Twitch channel, which, as far as I can tell, has never been archived outside of Kieran teasing Golden Freddy as the next animatronic they'd be releasing. If anybody can confirm this actually happened and provide proof, that'd be greatly appreciated, but I'm fully willing to trust this never happened. The only reason I'm inclined to believe this is true is because it kind of tracks with their attitude towards the game. And here's one of the major reasons why. Remember how I said that the Rockstar animatronics went completely unexplored? Well, while that's true, it almost wasn't. Lefty, one of the main antagonists of Pizzeria Simulator, was not only planned to be in the game, but teased extensively in promotional material. Except he was a little more than that, because it turns out that he was actually fully developed. Why he was never officially released is literally anyone's guess, but that's not the only thing they fully completed and never released, but we'll get to that. The Dark Circus Encore DLC originally cost $12.99, with Illumix later bumping up the price to $19.99. That being the case, I don't know why it said $12.99 on my version of the game when I didn't play it until early 2024, but most sources say $19.99 was the eventual price tag, which, yikes. Industry standard console games are typically $60 to $70 new in this day and age, but this DLC, which you could beat in 20 to 30 minutes, was a third of that price. That's only $10 less than the base version of Help Wanted, the previous game in the series, a game that at minimum takes 2 hours to beat. Not only that, but given what it says on this menu, it was meant to be a part 1 of what was supposed to be episodic content through periodic updates. The irony, of course, being that it was the last update before they went radio silent for 2 years. And that was Five Nights at Freddy's AR Special Delivery Dark Circus Encore. Did we canonically die? Because, I mean, Ringmaster Foxy just bitch-whipped the shit out of us. I'm supposed to be in an abandoned circus tent. Where the hell is that doorbell coming from? The DLC only featured 3 animatronics for a total of 3 encounters, and I don't really get why. Like, not only was the DLC really short, but you could have easily expanded it by including Magician Mangle and Clown Springtrap, the other 2 skins from the original Dark Circus event. So I'm choosing to end this game by reading the emails, because due to the fact that I'd given up on this game, especially so early on, this video was close to not even happening because not only did I not want to spend countless hours trying to get the animatronics and skins, I have no idea how long it would have taken me to get all the emails, the only part of the game that had a cohesive narrative. The reason I say that is because apparently the emails are randomly generated, so there's no way to know how many encounters I would have needed to play through in order to get them all. Though, I guess it would have been a better way than how it was originally, having to wait and come back for days in a row just to get the next set of story-related emails. And the thing is, as much as I scoured through the internet, I couldn't for the life of me find footage of someone reading through the emails. All I could find was the emails laid out in plain text, which is bizarre to me because that's what made this game a main series title. I started recording this game about a couple of weeks before they announced that the app would be taken down from stores, and only found out that the game had been discontinued after trying to boot the game back up 10 days following the shutdown of the servers. That's how fast the final delivery event happened. Just 6 weeks of anticipation after 2 years of practically zero updates, let alone new content. And I'm glad my little diatribe allowed me to bring up the final delivery event, because what it was a way to send off the game by offering discounts on pretty much all the in-game items you could purchase. The DLC was now being offered in exchange for fast coins, all character lures were available to purchase, and overall the amount of rewards one could receive in-game was increased. But what the hell was the point of offering everything at a discount when you knew the game required connection to online servers in order to function in the first place? Man, I'm really glad I spent $60 on trying to get Funtime Freddy just so I can look at him for 2 days. Made worse by the fact that you can't play it anymore, meaning that all the money you invested in it is just gone. They didn't even have the courtesy of developing an offline version of the game. But okay, back to the emails. You would have received one that explained the Freddy Fazbear mask mechanic, similar to the one in FNaF 2 and Ultimate Custom Night. Putting it on helped fend off some of the toy animatronics, which apparently were suffering from a fatal logic loop that messed with their facial recognition software. And I have to say, what an incredible coincidence that the same animatronic models, which the game later reveals were built from the ground up, were facing the same issue they had 40 years ago. And worse than that, the way to circumvent the error was exactly the same. Not to mention, if this behavior was unexpected, why did you provide users with the mask in the first place? As a perk? Reading through the Toy Bonnie errata, they clearly specified how it was that you could avoid losing to his mechanic, but the research and development team claim in another email that they hadn't been able to reproduce these issues. So, how do they know how to circumvent the problem when they couldn't even produce the problem? This email mentioned the Fazbear Entertainment LLC patented AnimStealth module, which was able to turn animatronics invisible, and why? Was it ever explained what the hell the purpose of AnimStealth was? Oh, okay, so they didn't claim Springtrap as one of their products, but how in the Freddy Fazfuck was he somehow sneaking into your deployment rotation enough for multiple users to report him? There is only one of him, right? And also, isn't he dead? He turned into a peanut head and then burned with the others in Pizzeria Simulator, right? It's kind of funny how R&D were apparently struggling to make a Mangle design work when it worked just fine and by complete accident 40 years ago! Also, did Fazbear Entertainment not have any of the original schematics for the animatronics? They're not building anything new, so why are they designing from scratch? Also, I think the word you were looking for is multi-articulate. Multarticulous is not a word. Also, given all these troubleshooting errata that the company was sending out, it's understood that many people were receiving these animatronics and that enough users complained about the aggressive behavior. How was that not a PR disaster? I get that the higher-ups didn't give a shit about user safety, but you'd think they'd at least care about their bottom line. The biggest reason I'm inclined to believe that Illumix kinda didn't give a shit about this game is because a bunch of the emails were never released publicly, only found within the game's code. Now, this series is no stranger to hiding relevant story information in the game files, but usually because it's diegetic. It's meant to be found in the code. But why would private email exchanges, most of which we've been reading in-game, suddenly need to be found in the game files? Story is the main driving factor in the series, and it's not like it's hidden email here, hidden email there that fill in the blanks. The rest of the emails are all in chronological order, meaning they were cut from the game, and it's not like they were just throwaway emails that the story could do without. They contain pretty important narrative details that were meant to lead into Security Breach, and in a way, conclude Special Delivery's story. Normally, I wouldn't complain about cut content, because usually it's stuff that either isn't finalized or isn't formally announced. It's pretty common to cut content because there wasn't enough time to fully implement it before launch, or because somewhere down the road they decided not to go through with putting it in the game, but we typically find out about that after a game's release, not actively find out that the developer is holding out on us or not keeping to their word during what's supposed to be the game's active life cycle. They had at least 2 years to release these and just sort of held on to them for some reason. And I would understand if it was because they decided to go in a different direction with the story, or because they realized that Security Breach was going to retcon what they had written story-wise, but no, the rest of the emails make perfect sense and we're pretty much ready to go.
Special delivery.
Hey everyone, Charai5 here. Thank you so much for watching my CINEMASINS pastiche of Everything Wrong with Five Nights at Freddy's AR Special Delivery. I honestly didn't think this one was even gonna be made because like I said, I only played for like an hour, and I was like, okay, this is really short, and I don't know if I can really extrapolate anything from that 1 hour I played. And then I found out that the servers went down. I'm like, okay, well, maybe I can find something to say about the skins or about the emails. And I didn't realize that I was gonna have so much material to work with in that time, so I hope you guys really enjoyed the video. Subscribe to CINEMASINS, the awesome people that I pastiche. They also host sister channels that cover music videos, brands, and other topics. Question of the video: did you ever end up playing this game? And is this the kind of game that, as a Five Nights at Freddy's fan, you were into? Because as someone that I can probably admit that I'm a FNaF fan, but it's just not my kind of game. Like these mobile kind of, it's not properly a gacha game, but it kind of is at the same time. Did you play this game at launch? Did you get into it early on? Because I've heard so many times that people have said that this game was a lot better when it first came out, and that it just got worse over time. And I would love to know if that's true. I couldn't tell you like firsthand because I didn't play this when it first came out. But that's what I've heard. But yeah, you guys should hit like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Check out the Patreon. On screen you're seeing the names of the awesome supporters that contribute each and every single month. You guys have kept me afloat and going, and I really, really appreciate all of you. You guys can see your name alongside these wonderful people and see these videos a little bit early. But until next time, I will see you guys. Stay safe, stay awesome. This is Char5, signing off. I'm gonna call. Weird. Hello? Hey. Can't believe we got that one done. Yeah, I can't believe it myself. How are you calling me? I'm not. This is just how we're choosing to manifest this conversation. I guess that makes sense. More sense than just talking at nothing like we've done our whole life. Fair enough. So, to what do I owe the... I want to say pleasure? Well, I was hoping we could revisit what we were talking about last time. When you were sitting behind me playing on the Switch? What? No, the time before that. The whole life didn't turn out the way we wanted it to, but that we'd figure it out thing. Oh, right. Why? What about that? Well, while I stand by what I said, I think that there's a part that I hadn't realized yet, that hadn't clicked for me until recently, and I think it's important that you realize it too. Yeah? Dude, life did turn out the way we wanted it to. It just... not in the way we'd planned, not in the timeline we'd planned, not with the people we thought it would be. Yeah. Right? You see it too? Yeah. And you know when I think that started to sink in for us? When's that? When I finally accepted that you were real. That you weren't just a part of me that I'd made up to compartmentalize and to deflect my shortcomings onto, or to place blame on when I was behaving in a way that made me ashamed. You think so? Because I feel like we've had a lot of self-doubt since then. Well, yeah, but think about it. After that happened, we started making the arrangements to do the things in our life that we would have been too terrified to go through with otherwise. Yeah, I guess you're right. I never even noticed. Probably because you were too busy making sure those things actually got done. Yeah, maybe. And you've been with me ever since. I've been with you since before then. Right. Alright, well, you have preparations to make, right? Yep. Cool. Well, I'll let you get to them then. Sounds good. And hey, can I trust you to send that email later? The email you should have sent earlier this week? Don't start with me. Dude. Okay, yes, I will send that email. Thank you. Talk to you soon. I'm sure you will. Damn it, I told him to send that email like 1,000 times.